Well, good morning and welcome to Monday with Coffee with the Pastor. This week I thought we would look at some Bible passages in Genesis. That's where we begin. The Bible begins, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I'm reminded of Vince Lombardi, who was a famous football coach back in the 60s. And when he took over the Green Bay Packers, they had not been winning. And he basically said, we're going to go back to the basics. And so on the first day of practice, he took a football in and said, guys, this is a football. Well, Genesis to me is our football. This is our basic. And to do spiritual formation, we do need to look at how God formed our world, how he made our world, how he created it for us. And before we speak about Genesis and the creation, we're going to talk about creation today. I wanted to get Paul's take on it in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4. Now listen to what he said. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. In love, he predestined us for adoption to sonship through Jesus Christ, in accordance with his pleasure and will. And what you're going to see, Paul says that God, before creation happened, had us in mind. He had humanity in mind. He said that he had us in mind before he created the world. The world was created basically so he could have us. And he created because he wanted a family. He said he created us so we could be sons and daughters because of Jesus Christ. And so God desired us to be his family. That's why we were created. And we're going to see that in the creation story as we look at it today. God looked down upon this is all in Genesis 1. And God looked down upon things, and it was dark and void and chaotic and without void. And he's going to bring order to chaos. And the first thing that he creates in day one is light. It doesn't say he creates the sun and the moon like that and the stars, where we today realize that light comes from, but he says he creates light. And one of the things you're going to see is that what he creates on day one is going to make it necessary for what he creates on day 4. What he creates on day 2 is going to be necessary for what he's going to create on day 5. What he creates on day 3 is going to be necessary for what he creates on day 6. So I'm going to kind of go in order and out of order, because on day 1 he creates light. On day 4 he creates the moon, the stars, and the sun. And that's big, because it is when he creates the sun, the moon, the stars that he brings order to our lives. That's how we have seasons. The moon and all is how we determine our months and our year. And for the Jewish family that God's going to create and his chosen people, it is going to be how they're going to gauge their festivals that they give to the Lord, for all the things that all their customs and their festivities and then their things to God, they're going to is comes through that creation, even before there is humanity. Now on day 2, the world has all water, and he says he's going to separate the waters. He's going to take the waters from below, and then he's going to put above, where you have waters here above. In other words, he's going to make a sky, a place for us to be able to breathe and birds to fly. Well, this is significant, because on day 5 he creates the fish and the birds. Well, the fish and the sea creatures need a place to be in the sea, and the birds need a sky to fly in. So you see how the order's coming. And in day 3, God creates vegetation upon the earth. Well, that's necessary for day 6. For in day 6, he creates animals, and then he creates humanity. He creates, according to the Bible, he creates man and woman in his own image. He creates man, male and female, in his own image. And what's interesting, another interesting tidbit about when he creates it, after he has a day of creation, he looks at it and says, that's good. Like he creates light and he goes, well, that's good. Second day, he creates the sky and then the expanse, and he goes, that's good. And day 3, he creates vegetation, he looks, that's good. And day 4, as we've talked about, he created the sun, moon, and stars, and he says, that's good. Day 5, he creates vegetation, he goes, well, that's good. And I mean, he creates the day 5, he creates the birds, the fish, and then day 6, he creates the animals from day 3, vegetation, so they would have something to eat. But on day 6, he uses an adverb with the word good. And most of the translations that I read say that he looked at it and said, it's very good. I looked it up in a Hebrew dictionary, and it can also be translated exceedingly good. In other words, the day that he creates humanity, he says it's exceedingly good. Because we were the purpose, according to Paul, of all this creation. God creates all this world, all these things, the sun, the moon, the stars, because he wants a family, he wants us. And in Genesis chapter 2, as we mentioned last week about the soul, when we talked about it last week, God formed man, remember, male and female, it says he formed them, but he formed Adam, and he formed him out of clay of the ground, the dust of the ground. And I had a Hebrew professor one time said we ought to say Adam's name is Dusty, but I don't know about that, but he thought it was funny. But he created him out of the ground, and it says, the Bible says that he breathed life, the Ruah, breathed life into Adam, and Adam became a living soul. Now we're going to look at that there's going to be times when people are, after God created them, that he's going to have fellowship with them, because humanity was made to have fellowship with God. That's why all of this was made. And that's the beginning of spiritual formation, is realize that God created us, and God created us to have fellowship with us. God created us because he wanted a family, and he wants us in the family. So welcome to the family of God, and I hope you'll walk today like a son or daughter of God. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and we'll talk more about some passages from Genesis. Have a great day. Bye now.